The transition from high school to college is also students' transition into adulthood. This is them really being able to find themselves and what they want to do with their lives. I went to a community college right after high school, but after a year, just prerequisites, I decided that it was best for me to take a break. I was burnt out. A year ago, I decided to go back to college and get my degree. Taking a break was one of the best decisions for me because I got to figure out what I wanted to do. Many parents want their kids to graduate high school and then go to college. They are afraid that their kids will lose their study habits between these years, or even that they won't even go back at all. But forcing them to go to school can have just as many consequences. We have to stop forcing students to go straight from high school to college. Today I would like to talk to you about what the gap year is and the benefits for students in taking a gap year. I would also like to address some of the concerns that surround students taking gap year and what we can do to better prepare students and have a successful year. Let's first look at what the gap year is. The gap year, by definition, is taking a year off between high school and college. According to Should Students Have a Gap Year? Motivation and Performance Relevance to Time After Completing School, states that a gap year can include structured activities such as part-time work or volunteering, sometimes referred to as volunteer tourism. It can also include unstructured activities such as leisure time. Most gap year participants will undertake both of these activities sometime in that year. It is recently estimated that between 15 and 20% of students are preparing, currently taking, or concluding a gap year. We will now look at some of the benefits of taking a gap year. According to Minding the Gap, young people account for taking gap year as a form of identity in higher education. They conducted a study with 8 students, and in these students took a gap year. They all experienced different outcomes. One of their outcomes was that they experienced real life situations. And when you're in high school, you think that $800 paycheck a month is pretty good until you have to start paying bills, and then you realize that it's really not enough. So these life experiences really help them see how much it costs for a living. They say that their maturity level rose, which instead of going out and partying all the time or going to any extra activities and stuff, they were more focused on school, and they wouldn't go do these activities or go to these parties and hang out with friends until their schoolwork was done. They were also able to find themselves, figure out what they wanted to do, and then the last one is that they help make them a better decision, which goes into finding themselves. If you're taking account, you want to go to school for accounting, and you get all the way, you take all your basics, and then you go to your accounting 1, you go to accounting 2, and you realize, now this isn't what I want to do. Then you can spend a 4-year degree, you're going to be spending 6 years, and not only that, it's going to cost more money. So they were making better decisions because they realized what they wanted to do. We'll now look at some of the concerns that surround students taking a gap year. One of the biggest ones is that they won't go back to school at all. And according to delay enrollment, college plans, is there a postponement penalty? They did a study and they found that compared to on-time enrollees, students who postpone college enrollment were less likely to expect a bachelor's degree and much less likely to even attend a post-secondary institution 4 years post-high school graduation. And this goes back to whether they're using their time productively. If sometimes life does happen and you get a family and then it's harder to go back to school after that because you're having kids or whatever. But if you're using this time productively and you're trying to figure out what you want to do, then you're more willing to go back to college once you have completed your volunteer or part-time work. You also lose your study habits and knowledge. If you want to go to school for medical school and then you go work at a clinic, then you take that initiative to learn things at your part-time or full-time job at that clinic, then when you go to school, you're going to know a little bit more than some of the other students maybe, and you are able to help you out in your first year of college and even later on in your college career because you had firsthand experience of those. Some are afraid that your friends are moving forward and that you will be left behind. And this one is, unless your friends you plan to go to the same college, it's less likely that your closest friends are going to go to the same school as you. And college is about making, you meet new people, different ethnic groups, different backgrounds, and you're able to just meet new people and make new friends. And usually those friends are going to be your friends that you have for a lifetime. There are some from high school, but majority of the friends that you meet in college are going to be your lifelong friends. According to Decided Gap Year Makes Sense for You, states that a gap year not only means that you start college a year later, that you're also finishing college a year later. And this is delaying the pursuit of your career. In a competitive job market and a tough economy, it is more important than ever that you get this work experience. And I experienced this with my brother because he went to college straight after high school, and when he finished college after his 4 years, he had to go work at Walmart for a little bit because it was hard for him to find a job and the economy was down. So in most of the jobs he applied for, he had to have 2 to 3 years experience. But if he would have maybe taken a gap year and got a little bit of experience, it might have been easier for him to get a job. So on the other hand of this argument, a gap year could enable you to gain the experience in the field that you choose before starting college and give you a leg up on internships or entry-level positions. Finally, we'll look at how we can prepare students who want to take a gap year. According to why your high school senior should take a gap year, there are 3 guidelines that experts say students should follow in order to have a successful gap year experience. The first one is that they still apply for college. And I know it sounds silly, if you don't plan on going in that year, why still apply? Because a lot of colleges are allowing students to take a delayed enrollment, which they still apply as a senior in high school, and then when that year's up, they still are able to go to college. They're already enrolled, they just have to sign up for classes. And if you don't do this, it can be harder because students, you're working part-time, full-time, or doing volunteer work, and it's hard to go get your high school transcript, get your ACT scores sent to you, and then go fill out the paperwork, and then you got to sign up for classes. If it's already done, you can't procrastinate anything but just going out there and signing up for your classes. The second thing is that you make sure they have a structured plan on what they want to do, whether it's part-time, full-time work, volunteer, a mixture of those, and some leisure time. As long as they're not sitting around playing video games all day, you want them to be productive and trying to find out what they like to do, what they want to do for the rest of their lives. And the third guideline goes along with this, making sure they have the funds to do so. Whether you need gas money, whether you are going to need a car, transportation to from work, you have to make sure that they have the funds for it. It's like if you're going to plan a vacation, but you don't have the funds for it, it's kind of pointless to plan the vacation. And that's the same thing with this. There's no point, and if you don't have the funds to do it, there's no point in really taking a gap year off. Clearly, this decision to take a year off between high school and college is not for every student, but it is for some. We need to be more aware that this is not a negative thing, that it can be a positive thing for students. They are able to find themselves in real life situations and thus know what road that they want to take in the end into college. And they'll even take it more seriously. This option is for students to consider and to evaluate themselves, and we should not criticize them, we should support them. Deciding to take this break is extremely important, and students have to evaluate the situation for themselves and figure out what is best for them. However, this break needs to be productive as well. There are some drawbacks, but it can be very beneficial to them in their college career at the end. Parents need to make sure that their student still enrolls, that they have a plan, and they have the funds to put this plan into action. Transition to adulthood can be hard, but first you have to figure out what will make you happy in the end. Let's not force them to get a degree. Let's help them get a degree in something that they will enjoy for the rest of their lives.